Hello candidates, you're welcome in another science lesson with Mr. Wanyama. I hope you're fine, you're healthy. Get ready with your book and a pen. Last time we were completing our first topic about electricity and magnetism. So we are going to make corrections of the work I left you with, and then later on we shall introduce a new topic. So there you are. Question number 1. How are magnets important to the following people? So I gave you 3 categories of people. One, we talked of pilots. So a pilot uses a magnet in a compass to show direction, to locate places where he's going. And another category was teachers. And I hope you got something about magnetism last time. So in other words, magnets enable teachers to teach candidates like you about magnetism. Didn't you learn something about that? Good. And then the third category was doctors. The doctors use magnets to remove magnetic materials from delicate body organs like iron filings, or from the eyes, or maybe the ears. Then question number 2 was to mention 2 items that use both electricity and magnetism. They need electricity and they need magnetism at the same time. So we had the long list. Did you mention this? Fridges? Did you talk of loudspeakers? How about electric bells? Right. And more others. You can refer to your notes. So those are just examples. Question number 3. What's the importance of a hammer on an electric bell? So we saw that the hammer is used to hit the gong in order to produce sound. To hit, H-I-T, the one you are seeing on the screen, not the other one. Question number 4 was to give one way as you, a P7 pupil, can make a magnet lose its magnetism. So I know you are going to take care of them after knowing this. So if you repeatedly drop a magnet or you strongly hit it, you make it lose magnetism. And also, when you keep a magnet with the like poles together for a long time, you also make them lose magnetism. You can also heat it, strong heating, like you can expose it to fire. So it can easily lose magnetism. So today we are going to introduce a new topic. Last time when you were still at school, we gave you a topic outline. So you will go on taking. So you ticked a number of them. We are going to friction and machines. Friction and machines. Now you would ask yourself, what's friction? And I think you've ever heard people talk of friction. What is it? This is simply a force that opposes motion between 2 surfaces which are in contact with one another. They are moving, but they are in contact. A force that opposes that movement is what we call friction. And friction are in types. There are 3 types of friction. Now, the first one is static friction. This one is found in objects fixed in one position. So think of a piece of furniture you are sitting on. Maybe it's a chair. It was fixed with a nail. So that nail is fixed within the timber by the help of static friction. So that the force enabling a nail to get fixed in wood is static friction. Then there is another type. This one is called sliding friction or rolling friction. This one is majorly found in rolling objects. Possibly you're sitting on a chair that has rollers or balls at the bottom there. So when you move around with it, it rolls. So such objects that are moving, they have that kind of friction, rolling friction. Then the third one is viscosity. Viscosity. You're going to check the spelling on the screen. Viscosity friction, this one is majorly in liquids and gases. So objects that move in air and in gases, in liquids, experience that kind of friction. Now we are going to talk more about them as we continue with the friction. Now we have properties of friction. What identifies friction? What makes friction different from other forces? Now, whenever there is friction, there is more heat, or there is heat produced. So take for example, you're seated there, get your palms together and then try to move together. Move them together faster, 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 faster. Very good. What are you feeling? You must be feeling hot. There is a heat in the palms. Yeah. So there is also more friction with rough surfaces than with smooth surfaces. Take for example, can you let someone roll you on the floor, on a tarmac floor outside your compound? And then later also let someone roll you or pull you on a cemented floor in the house? You'll experience the difference that when there is a rough surface, there is more friction with it. Yeah. And the slippery surfaces have less friction. Then the third property of a magnet is that the greater the load, the greater the friction force. Or in other words, friction increases with the weight, or weight increases friction. When something is very heavy and you're pulling it, possibly on the ground, it will experience more friction than when it is lighter. Now, friction is very, very useful in our daily life. It's a very useful force. So in most cases, we use friction in everyday life without knowing that we are using it. So here we want to identify some of them. Friction enables someone cycling a bicycle to brake or to stop when he's moving. So he's able to stop because there is friction. So when there was no friction, you would continue and continue. Yeah. How about, I know you're very busy writing with a pen. So when you're using a pen, it's a friction that enables you to write, more especially with a ballpoint pen. So when that ball rolls or turns, it's able to write. Now, have an experiment with you there. Get a smearing jelly, smear it on a piece of paper, not in the book we are using there. Get a different one, and then write using a ballpoint pen, a big pen. You'll experience it. Is it writing well? No, of course, it's not bringing out clear writing because friction has been reduced. So we need friction when we are writing or doing our activities in the books. So friction is also as important when sharpening objects. The knife you use in the kitchen when peeling matoke, cutting meat, or slaughtering chicken, it must be sharp. So it's a friction force that enables that to go on. Then another one, you can think of walking. Have you ever walked in an area when it has rained, a slippery area? How do you find it? You must find it difficult by sliding as you move, you go on sliding. More especially when you put on old nigina. Yeah. So friction enables us to walk properly without sliding. Then point number 5, you can also think of static electricity. When we're talking about electricity, the charged clouds, when they pass together, they cause friction. When you get a roller and maybe pass it strongly in your hair, and expose it to small, tiny pieces of paper, what do you see? It's attracted. So that's friction enables us to get static electricity. How about when you're lighting a matchstick? We don't light a matchbox, please. We light a matchstick. So it also enables us to light a matchstick. Now, get an experiment after this lesson, or maybe you can pause. Then get a matchbox, get smearing jelly, and then pass it over the matchbox, and then strike. What do you see? It won't light. It would be, but be very careful when you're carrying out that experiment. You do it in the presence of adults, please, such that you don't cause chaos at home. We need your life. Okay, now this we have seen the importance of friction, and by the way, there are very more others. Those ones who went for a trip to Western Uganda, when you're climbing Mountain Rwenzori, how did you find it? Did you find it easy, more especially when it has rained? No, you needed a rough surface in order to climb. So what was making you slide was less friction. So friction also enables us to climb steep mountains and even climb trees. Yeah. Then we have seen that friction is very, very important in everyday life. We need it among very many things. Now, are you aware that friction is also a disadvantage as we carry out our work? So let's see some of the disadvantages of friction, a few of them. Friction makes objects wear out and they even tear out. So can you check your shoe soles? Yeah, they might have worn out. Yeah. So can you check the knife you use at home? Is it like you bought it last year or 3 years ago? Of course, no. So friction makes such objects wear out. So you can think of many things or items at home that have been worn out by friction. Okay, friction also hinders work as you need to use a lot of force. So take, for example, if you have a wheelbarrow you are using at home and there is less friction in the moving parts, you will have to use a lot of force to push it. Yeah, that one is a disadvantage. Friction also produces unnecessary heat, the heat we don't need, the noise we don't need in everyday life. So I was taking of a wheelbarrow. When you're pushing a wheelbarrow, have you ever heard of a certain sound, queer sound? That kind of sound, you know. I might have not produced it the way you have ever heard it. But do you feel at peace with such noise? Of course no. Of course no. Yeah. Also unnecessary heat. Yeah. Okay. Now we have seen there are very many disadvantages, but you can discover others by yourself. But I've managed to scope out those three. Now, since you have seen that friction is very, very important in our life and it's also a disadvantage in our lives, we want to see how we can increase it when we need it. And then later we shall see how to reduce it when actually we don't need it. Now, how can we increase friction? One, so you can make a rough surface, a smooth surface, rough. There you are increasing friction. Take, for example, on Maram roads, after they have made the road, they will need to bring Maram, those small stones, and pour to make it rough, such that there is easy movement. I don't know whether you have ever experienced this, or maybe your parent may tell you an experience. One time when his vehicle slid, or his motorbike, or his bicycle slided. Yeah, right. Slided and excuse me, and it went off the road. So moving out of the road, it was very, very difficult. Why? Because there was less friction. Yeah. So they have to make the road rough by putting those small stones or putting tarmac, so that there is easy movement, as we have seen, as we saw that it aids in movement. You can also put treads or treads on a car or bicycle tires or shoe soles. Yeah. In other words, if it's a vehicle and the treads are worn out, just buy a new tire with the treads and then life will go on. In other words, what am I saying? Do not attempt to put yourself treads on a vehicle tire. It's unlawful. Yeah. And you can also put treads on shoe soles. So people put when the cobblers are making shoes, they put those treads to ensure that there is more friction. Yes. So you can also check with your shoe soles and see whether they are treads, and you see whether they are worn out. They are worn out because of friction, and we need them to ensure that we go on moving steadily. You can also put spikes on sports boots. I don't know whether you have ever seen, I know many of you are football fans. So these sports boots have spikes. Those ones we have at the bottom are spikes, not thorns. Yeah, and not nails. They are called spikes. So they are there to increase friction. You can also, they put grips on bicycle handles or motorbike handles. So I don't know if you have a bicycle at home or if you have a motorbike, you can check for those grips on the bicycle, on those handles. Yes, so they are there to increase friction so that the hand doesn't easily slide off. Then point number 5, we can also increase friction by increasing the weight on the surface. Put more weight, you are going to overcome friction. Yeah, so we have seen friction is very important, and that's how we can make it continue serving us. Now, this friction is also a disadvantage. Now, how can we reduce it? In most cases, when we don't need it. Now, you can use rollers. So, in other words, you decrease the areas of contact between moving parts. So, rollers, take for example, get a number of pens, about 3 of them or 4, and put on a surface and put there the book. Then try to slide. And then thereafter, do it without. Compare the two. Which one has been easier for you when pushing the book? It must have been with rollers. Yes. You can also use ball bearings in bearings. Now, these bearings are found in vehicles, in bicycles, in motorbikes. Now, when you go to the nearby mechanic, he will give you a bearing, and you see how it looks like. Now, like you can check on our diagram. Now, something you're seeing like balls, those are the balls, and the whole of it is a bearing. So that's how it acquires a name, ball bearing. Yeah. Now, when you put those ball bearings and you put lubricant, as we are going to see, it makes it very easy to move. The contact between surfaces is reduced, like we've said. Now, you can also reduce friction by lubricating. Now, you can lubricate using oil, or you can use grease. Now, this grease and oil make the surface slippery, like we saw. Makes it slippery so that they easily move. Now, oil and grease can also be called, they are also called lubricants. Yes, just from the word lubricate. Then you can also reduce friction by streamlining objects. So I don't know whether you have ever seen these objects. They are sharp in front. Now think of a fish, think of a bird, think of a boat that moves in water. You can also think of an aeroplane, a jet that moves in air. So they are made that way to overcome viscosity, the type of friction we looked at the opening of the topic, when we're beginning the topic. So we streamline objects to reduce friction in gases and in liquids. Now you can also make rough surfaces smooth. So it's like when you have your floor very rough, you can make it smooth by cementing it. Make it very fine, very smooth. Yeah. So that's how you can do away with friction. Now I'm going to leave you with an activity about the lesson, and next time when I come, we shall be able to go through and test yourself, test your attention. First of all, answer without referring to your notes and see whether you have grasped it. So I wish to see you next time. Like I said, we need you healthy and lively. See you then in the next lesson. Bye.